Hello guys, Annala Mooke here, and today I am going to be reading um a wow, I can't speak. Hang on while I post the whole thing. I need to post my wow, I can't speak. But quickly before I quickly before I do the stream, I'm going to, yes, as you see, my screen is, don't judge me, but, I'm going to post a link to everyone because, you know, I want people to come watch, and and there's like no use. I'm talking to no one right now. And of course, I'm only talking because I know it's gonna be recorded, and then it's gonna be looking weird if I just don't talk for a bit. But yeah, um, I'm going to post stuff. I'm live here, me. Ooh, I have zero clue. I don't know if you can hear me, but hey, can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me, but hey, yeah. I suppose you can hear me. Let me see. I'm gonna go to my videos and see if it's there. Am I live? Am I live? I don't know. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna search myself. The things I go through to Mooke. Search me. Am I live? How do I do this? Live. No, wow. When you type the wrong thing. LICE, not okay. Live. uh, I'm live now. I wonder why it's not. There it is. There it is. Oh. Hi. Let's turn the volume down and copy. Boom. And go to you. Boom. And you. I don't know who's watching. There's one person watching. And yeah. Okay, and then one more post to boom, boom. Oof. I am live. Come check me out. Peace. Oh my. Just keep posting that, cause like I am live. Come check me out. Boom. Just keep posting that for a bit, cause I want people to come see. Boom, boom, doom. 3 minutes of me posting. All right. Ugh. I'm gonna go on Wattpad now, cause that's where my fanfiction is. Oof. Gonna go to my account. My beautiful account. My beautiful account. That's me. I have 120 again. Thank you for following me. Conversations. Oof. There you go. So, yeah. Don't know. Boom. Why? I can tell you're not watching, so. Oof. Alright, guys, so I guess I'm gonna start reading Lotus for I can't speak. I'm I'm gonna read the first, like, what I have of Lotus, which is my Percy Jackson fanfiction. Um, Sorry, my nose is really itchy. But yeah, I'm gonna read Lotus for a bit, and then I'm gonna have to go to bed because it's 10:40. So yeah, I probably should go to bed soon. But hey, yep, I'm blushing. I don't know why. Anyways, let's start. Have to go to have to go to Wattpad and go to the story. Come on, I know you're here. There it is. Okay, so I'll start with prologue, of course. Prologue. The beginning is one of the most important parts of a book. The first sentence needs to grab the attention of the reader. You want to make sure you make a good first impression, like a teenager on their first day of high school. I guess my story might not be new or anything. A demigod, a camp, and a destiny far greater than them. But why are you still reading then? Maybe you're reading because you just want to read on and see where this goes. Or maybe you felt that tingle I felt the moment I read the first page in Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. That lurch in your stomach and that feeling that your life will never be the same. I felt it. Did you? I tapped my nails on the cashier's countertop of the store that I worked at, sighing. My red hair burned hot from the sunlight that beat on my head. It was uncomfortable, but I wasn't allowed to move. I lived in a small tourist trap of a town named Everbay. It was near pretty beaches with blindingly white soft sand and a matching cerulean blue ocean. There were a few large mansions on a hill overlooking our small town like grim sentries. My nails made clicking sounds monotonously and lulled me into a sleepy trance until my boss, Judy, walked in. I snapped up, producing my best, "I'm not falling asleep, ma'am, and I'm happy to be working here," smile. "Zoe, have you taken any interest in your job yet?" she asked me wearily. "Yes, ma'am," I replied. My own fake, cheery demeanor made me uncomfortable. I'd always been a terrible liar. I haven't decided if that is a good thing or not. Judy regarded me with a quiet, "Are you seriously pulling that card on me" expression. The bell tinkled sweetly, letting me know a customer had entered. I looked over at the door, relieved to have an interruption for what I knew was going to be me getting fired, but a customer didn't seem to deter her. "You are fired." I sighed, then turned to her with now one of my signature cheeky and goofy grins. "Thanks." I pulled the strings off my apron and placed it on the cashier counter. Then, with all the sassy dignity I could muster, I marched out of Dairy Queen. I sat on a bench looking out on the pristine shore and the peaceful ocean lapping it, seemingly hungry, just like Guy was right now. It wasn't my best decision losing my job and all, but I was really bored. I sighed at myself and shook my head. In my fingers, I rolled a pendant on a black cord around my neck absentmindedly. I haven't had it since I was born. It was my only connection to my real parents. See, I didn't want to say anything about this, but I live in an orphanage. It's a nice one, though, not what you picture after learning from media. It has a little garden and a private library. I ran my hand through my hair once and began playing with it, as I do when I'm nervous. What am I going to tell Abigail? I thought. She wasn't going to be pleased that I had lost my job again, and in a new record, too. Last time I managed a whole 2 weeks, but this time I lasted only 2 weeks. 2 months. Bleh, can't speak. But last time I managed a whole 2 months, but this time I lasted 2 weeks. I felt weight fall on the bench beside me. I looked up to see Jacob, the boy from my orphanage. He gave a slight smile and patted my head, quite as usual. Jacob rarely spoke, but who could blame him? His whole family, younger sister, and parents had perished in a house fire. Maybe it was survivor's guilt, I don't know, but he had taken me in like I was his younger sister. The minute we had met on the first day at the academy, that was basically the orphanage, I sighed and looked down at my boots sullenly. "I've been fired, Jaybird," I murmured, speaking to my feet. I called Jacob Jaybird because it was a small nickname to remind him that being free as a bird is always better than being stuck in a cage, no matter how gilded. Speaking of which, this whole town is a cage. I've always felt it, and ever since I was 10, I wondered why my memory was the absolute worst. I couldn't remember anything before my ninth birthday, and even after my ninth birthday, it was sketchy. Jacob raised my chin so my eyes met his and rolled his eyes at me. Cheer up, Zoe, he murmured gently. He usually only spoke to me, which I was grateful for, as he was my only real friend here. I smiled softly and hugged him, burying my face in his shoulder. I relaxed and let out a gentle sigh. We should probably get back. Abigail will be worrying if we don't get back soon. Jacob nodded and got up, pulling me up with him. Yeah. We walked back home, him allowing me to walk slowly. He let a gentle smile upon his lips. Zozo, it will be fine, he promised me, quietly confident. I was usually a highly optimistic person, but at the moment, that wasn't my mindset. I suppose the natural worrier in me beat it down. I let a heavy sigh and nodded as I stopped walking. I frowned a bit, surprised and confused. I thought I had seen something impossible. It was almost like the air shimmered around a boy. He was walking towards us, and I shook my head slightly. Jacob took my hand more tightly and frowned unsure. He was always unsure about everyone who came our way. He never trusted anyone, as previously stated. And thus, when someone familiar, like this boy, came around, he would tend to be overprotective. The boy walked up to us and smiled. The strange shimmering seemed to be around his head, his legs, and his feet. Hey, do you know where I might find? He held up a map and squinted at the tiny print that marked each landmark. Iowa? No, Eolin? I knew immediately what place he was trying to get to. My own worries and grievances dissipated quickly as soon as I saw someone in need. Yeah, of course, I smiled kindly. My name is Zoe, by the way, and this is Jacob. I gestured at Jacob as I introduced him and then held out my hand for the newcomer to shake. The boy smiled and shook my hand. He seemed to be about our age. He was pale and scrawny, with reddish brown hair and four-leaf clover colored eyes. He wore a Bob Marley hat and tie-dye shirt. Grover, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. Come along, we live where you're trying to go, I smiled and beckoned him to follow Jacob and I. And it's pronounced Lotus, muttered Jacob indignantly. I sighed and rolled my eyes, not really noticing that he'd used a Greek word and I had understand it as Lotus. Oh, come on, give the guy a break. How's he supposed to know that? I asked as we neared the entrance of the Lotus Academy for abandoned, neglected, or orphan children. The Lotus was our school's insignia, and I had really never thought it weird, and its name was in Greek. I had more or less grown up with it. At least, I think I did. Wait, hang on a moment. What? I realized my memory was being iffy again. I sighed and chewed on my bottom lip, trying to ignore how annoyed I was. I absolutely hated not knowing things. As we entered the gates, I blinked from my deep thoughts. Right. I blinked a little more, dreamily before beaming. Follow me, Grover. I can take you to the administrator's office. See you in a bit, Jacob. I waved and guided Grover off towards the office. So, Grover, if you don't mind me asking, why are you here? I asked, turning to walk backward and gave him an awkward grin. I knew I was probably being a little too nosy, but I couldn't help it. I loved learning about people and I hated not knowing things, as I keep saying. Oh, I'm here because my parents are missing. Sorry. My Wattpad was like, nope. To scroll back down. Come on. There it is. Sorry. Working on it. Technical difficulties. Oof. Okay, scrolled way too down. Here it is. I'm here because my parents are missing, Grover said awkwardly. I frowned a bit and then nodded in sympathy. I'm sorry about asking. I know I was probably overstepping my boundaries. I felt guilty for asking, but Grover smiled and shook his head. Nah, don't worry about it. I know I'll find him one day, he replied. And we are here. Welcome to the administrative office, Grover. Do you need anything else? I asked. No, thank you. He waved and I turned to walk away, only to be stopped by his voice. Actually, there is one other thing. I turned to face him curiously. And what, may I ask, is it? Would you possibly consider being my friend? I giggled a little. Absolutely. I kind of am known for being a friendly, maybe a tad over-friendly person. Just a warning. But of course, I'll be your friend. I then waved. See you later, Grover. I walked quickly off towards my sleeping quarters. My bedroom was upstairs, and I shared it with a girl named Ray. She was cold and distant, usually sulking and angry, and talking to her is completely out of the question, seeing as she would snap at me every time I would open my mouth. She had short black hair and dark eyes. Her skin looked like it never saw daylight, and she hid most of the time from everyone. There is something about a person like that that makes me try as hard as I can to become their friend. Maybe it's that I know those kinds of friends like Jacob would be there to the end. I tended, after all, to be an extremely needy sometimes and had a severe fear of abandonment. Good afternoon, Ray. I smiled sweetly as I walked in to the dorm room. I flopped down on my twin-sized bed and yawned, closing my eyes. Good afternoon, my butt, muttered an ever-cheerful Ray. My sarcasm was clear, I hope. I sighed and pushed myself up so I lay on my stomach and my chin rested on my palms. I looked at her and gave her a sad look. Why do you always have to be mean to me? Can't you see I just want to be your friend? Friend? Why on this goddamn earth would you want to be my friend? The girl gave me a bewildered look, and she rolled over so she mimicked the way I laid. Because I like you. Like me? All I ever do, as you've said, is be mean to you, and you still like me? Mm-hmm. I still do because I know what you're hiding underneath. We all have our ways of hiding our pain. Your way is to push everyone away because you're afraid of getting close to them and then you might lose them. My way is to smile and laugh and joke around. I'm just as much pain as you. I don't claim to understand what you've went through completely, but I have some idea. I answered, and then pushed myself up into a sitting position. I crossed my legs and leaned over them, hands hanging a bit from the bed. And just so you know, I won't ever give up on becoming your friend. And with that, I slipped off from my bed and to leave the room. Ray slowly sat up and sighed, allowing me to leave without saying a word. I knew she was mulling over what I had just said. I sat in the corner of the lunchroom eating a salad. I wasn't very hungry today, and besides, salads are good any day. I took a bite, musing how it was more of a ranch soup than anything. I hummed gently as Jacob sat down opposite of me, making the bench creak slightly. His slightly long brown hair falling into his bluish green eyes. They had an odd red hue to them. I had gotten used to that feature, even if it had been intriguing at first. He said he was born with it. Are you okay, Zozo? He asked me in his gentle, quiet voice. Oomph. I swallowed my food quickly. I'm great. How are you? Are you okay, Jaybird? He nodded quietly, and Grover slipped in beside me, grinning a bit. Hey, what's he doing here? Asked Jacob, quietly, looking a little annoyed. I invited him, so play nice, JJ. I sighed and pushed away my salad, suddenly losing my appetite. You need to eat, Jacob said and shoved the salad back towards me. I'm full. That's a lie, Zoe. It's not. Grover quickly intervened in the situation. How about we compromise? 2 more bites, he suggested, not wanting me to get angry, which he could tell my temper was rising. I grumbled a few incoherent choice words and shoved 2 more bites reluctantly into my mouth. I chewed and swallowed them with difficulty and suppressed my urge to vomit or gag. There! Now, please just get off my back. I'm full. I stood up from the bench and stretched. I'm going to go to the library. I saw the 2 boys about to ask if they could come, and I shook my head. And I'm going alone, so don't ask. I turned and stalked from the lunch hall and out of the academy. It was a good way to avoid telling the headmistress about how I got fired, and reading usually calmed me down. I had minor dyslexia, though, so it hurt my head to read for too long. That's partially why I have stopped reading in the past year. That and getting a laptop for a Christmas present from my headmistress. She always gave good gifts to everyone on Christmas, and everyone got a birthday gift as well. Some kid actually got a Nintendo Switch for his birthday. It was awesome. I walked into the local library and slipped into my favorite section. The librarians all knew me, and so they kept a small area for me to come and read in. I pulled out my favorite copy of the Grimm's fairy tale and settled myself onto my comfy pillow haven. This particular copy had been rinsed so many times it was a beat blah, wow. And it was a bit beat up and falling apart a little at the bindings. I carefully opened it to one of my favorite fairy tales, Snow White. I had been reading for about an hour now and had finally gotten to the ending. My dyslexia was proving to be quite killer at the moment. Looking glass upon the wall, who is the fairest of us all? The looking glass answered, O queen, although you are beauty rare, the young bride is 1,000 times more fair. Then she railed and cursed and was beside herself with disappointment and anger. First she thought she would not go to the wedding, but then apparently I have a British accent now. But then she felt she should have no peace until she went and saw the bride. And when she saw her, she knew for Snow White, and could not stir from the place of anger and terror, for they had ready red hot iron shoes, in which she had to dance until she fell down dead. I yawned and gently closed the book, pressing it to my chest. It wasn't one of the most wholesome stories in the world, but no story really and truly is. My eyes felt heavy, and I closed them, feeling sleep roll over me. The dream I fell into hadn't felt like a dream. It felt like it had been real, and had consisted of cold, evil darkness mostly. Blood, darkness, and insanity. A brooding, sly, tricking insanity of someone I felt like I should know. The dream, or whatever it was, began with three people, two boys and a girl, and I walking through what all I can assume was the Greek underworld, with Hades. It felt like it to me, like I knew it was. I was scared and clung to one of the boys' arms. They got annoyed and sort of pushed me off. But this time, I was having a panic attack. By this time, I was having a panic attack. The girl tried to calm me down. I suddenly felt a tug, a pull to go somewhere. I felt a trance come over me, and I began to run. One of the boys tried to grab my arm, and the other boy tried to tackle me to the ground. Both failed. I soon skidded to a halt in front of a large, dark precipice. A cold voice filled with pure chaos and evil spoke to me. Be my key, take my place, free me. And that's when I woke up. I groaned weakly and placed a hand on my forehead, placing a palm facing outwards, and turned my head to check the time. For a few moments, I didn't remember where I was, and then I jolted fully awake as I spotted the time and remembered where I was simultaneously. It was 7:30 p.m. Carp, I am in so much trouble, I thought frantically as I scrambled up. I hurriedly shoved the book back into its place, trying to be careful not to harm it, and rushed from the library. As I hurried down the darkening sidewalk, the street lights began to turn on. I'm scared to tell Abigail about getting fired, and now this. What am I going to? My thoughts were cut off by sounds nearby of approaching feet. They were coming from behind me. I whirled around, my mind immediately screaming that there was danger. My hand flew into my pocket where I kept my lucky ring. I slipped it onto my right hand's middle finger, my breathing accelerating until I was almost hyperventilating. I had to control my panic attack before it got too out of hand. Out of the shadows came a hulking beast. What is that? My body trembled in fear, in terror. I took several shaking steps backwards. The massive beast made a low growl like a roar deep in its throat, and pouted forward, revealing itself in its entirety. My mind, the textbook that it was, skimmed for anything and everything that might help me identify the creature, but my mind had gone completely blank. I couldn't think, and now I couldn't move. I grit my teeth and I take a deep breath. I couldn't just let this monster eat me. I had to do something, and some instinct spurred into existence, my fist raising to a fighter's pose. What could my hands do against that? I'm not Hercules. I don't have super strength. Wait! Hold up. Hercules! My mind spurred back to life just in time. I lunged out of the way of a powerful jab from the snake head tail from the creature I now knew as a chimera. Zoe! A voice cried out from behind me. I whirled around, eyes wide, to face three familiar faces. Ray, which surprised me, and the two boys, Grover and Jacob. I felt a sudden pain on my shoulder and instantly realized my mistake. Never, never turn your back to an opponent. I crumpled to my knees as the venom from the snake began to course through my veins. I coughed and then fell sideways to the cold pavement. Grover and the two others began to panic, and the last thing I saw was a flash of red from the direction Jacob was in before I passed out. That was prologue. Okay, so I'm gonna read on to chapter 1. Author's note, this is happening just before the second book of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. My character is 11 and Percy's 13, just so you guys know. The first thing I saw through my eyelids when I woke was colors. They danced across them in an ever-changing dance. It it would be blackish purple, then it would change to a violent red, then shift to a powder pink. Then it would shift to a deep purple, and sometimes all the colors would combine together or overlap. I shifted weakly, trying to open my eyes, feeling sick and utterly bewildered. Finally, my eyes opened with great difficulty, and I shuddered, straining to look around me and get an understanding of where I was. I lay in a cot in some kind of cabin, it looks like. I pushed myself up, shivered slightly, regretting my decision to sit up almost instantly. I fell back to my pillow and winced. I looked down at the wound on my left shoulder. I wrinkled my nose in a disgusted grimace. The white gauze now the white gauze bandage was yellowy and green now, with what I would assume was pus. I could smell it as well, and it smelled disgusting, like rancid meat and sewage mixed together. "You're awake!" A golden-haired boy of about 13 or 14 came over to me. He propped me up with several cushiony pillows and helped me drink something delicious that tasted like candy floss. For you Americans, candy floss is cotton candy. I forgot all about my injury when I tasted it. "What is that? It tastes so amazing, like candy floss," I asked in pure happiness. I'm just saying that's what my nectar would taste like. Cotton candy. I have problems. "This is nectar, the drink of the gods," he explained. "I was just coming in to clean your wounds. It keeps getting infected, so I have to constantly clean it. Please sit still now," he said, smiling. If you move, it will hurt more." I obediently sat still and watched him as he began to unwrap my wound. The stench became overpowering, and I avoided looking at it. I suppressed a gag and urged to vomit. "So, what's your name?" "My name is Ryan. I'm from the Apollo cabin. You're lucky to be still alive. The fates probably favor you." He then winked. "And it helps you have a skilled medic here to help you." So that's actually where I'm gonna end it. Yeah, that's Ryan, by the way. Love you guys, and I'll make it. Peace.